Folks, welcome back to another episode of Thoughts on a Thursday. For those of you that this is your first episode of this is a fun sub-series podcast I created. Those of you watching in video can see I've got a few friends. Those of you listening to the podcast in a second will hear from my friends, but I've got Jenn, Keashawn, and Chris. Folks, how are you?
Hello.
Doing good.
Yeah, doing great too.
Love it, love it. So real quick, Jenn and I both go to Long Beach State, majoring in sport management. Keashawn and Chris go to University of San Francisco, majoring in sport management. Figured it'd be a cool little side series of the podcast, hear from those of us that are currently students pursuing our degree in sport management and looking to break into the space. And just wanted to hear from students that are in it and can be an encouragement and give advice and insight to those of you that are in our same shoes or maybe about to start grad school or thinking about grad school or whatever. And so every week we pick a different topic. This week's topic is one that I know I love to talk about. I can't speak for the other three, but we'll see how this conversation goes. And it's the idea of mentorship as well as networking. Obviously, they're different. They play their roles in different ways. Mentors can be mentors for business, mentors for life, mentors for relationships, whatever it may be. And then there's networking, which is very important and has its own benefit in our lives as well. So that's our topic. Whoever wants to kick it off, mentorship, networking, let's go.
Yeah, Kasey. Just to start it off, I think, so in the sport management program, I think your cohort plays a big role in your network because this is the class that you're gonna pretty much be with until you graduate. And, I think that, like you can all learn from each other. There's you're both on the same type of journey, experiencing different internships, and maybe there's a job that they got that you wanted, or or just being in the same company. That's like a good way for you to like continue to learn about that job or that company, and maybe how you could get in, and maybe one day they're hiring, and they could easily reach out to you. And again, that's your cohort. They know you really well because you went through this program together. So major shout out to the cohort. I think because at the same time they're very serious. They're trying to be a pro. So definitely a thing to highlight. And in terms of mentors, there's definitely a lot of people that you can consider a mentor. Maybe someone that you kind of see yourself like, maybe in like 5 years or 20 years or whatnot. So definitely like recognizing like things that could help you, and just holding yourself accountable as you move forward, I think is the biggest thing. And yeah, I think even like trying to like reach out to those individuals, and always again just like following up and maintaining like the genuine relationships. And these are real people, so just be polite, be yourself, get to know them, let them get to know you. Where this passion comes from, why do you want to do this, like it's okay to share some of those things, once you feel that connection with certain individuals.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just to add to that, going off of Keashawn, I think networking is super important. Right, you hear it all the time. It's about who you know and who knows you. But to kind of give an example, like me, Keashawn, and Kasey, we internship at USC with the game management staff, which is basically like operations for the USC football game at the Coliseum. But through that internship, we are kind of focused on the game. Like we're working with the game management staff, we're focused on operations. But as Kasey and Keashawn can attest to this, we're around the marketing team, the recruiting operations, yeah, a lot of things. So I've kind of took the liberty to really just like meet everybody on the marketing team, and then as well as the recruiting ops, because you never know. Like I didn't go into to the internship knowing like what marketing all entails for a football game. And I've learned so much within 3 games and just connected with those people. And maybe that, once I, if I like the energy at USC and I want to actually apply to a job there, who knows? One of those people may be in my interview. Want somebody from, recruiting operations. So really just using that and being able to build good relationships and because at an internship is where we're there for things like 8 home games, and I'm gonna see those people constantly, and yeah, that's just build a genuine relationship with those people, and I feel like it'll take myself far, and then you can apply that to whatever industry that you in, or field that you're in within the sports industry. And then when it goes to mentors are people. For me, I try to talk to a mentor and learn from their mistakes, so I don't have to make that same mistake. So like one of my mentors that I've been paired with through USF has been Bobby Thompson. He's the associate athletic director at Loyola Marymount. And just talking with him, just, learning the steps that it took from him from the program and then going into the actual, the workforce and being able to actually apply everything he learned in the program, like has just been like eye opening for me because like, yeah, you learn all these things within the program, but how are you actually going to apply it, to when you actually get into the sports industry, right? Because that's all we doing. We just learning all these theories and concepts, but he just tells me like this is what you really need to focus on once you graduate, right? And like we all talked about, don't get discouraged by all the rejections or like the little things and stuff like that. Just really like just keep pushing forward, and something to pan out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I love what the guys said for sure. And like even just Keashawn's point of like your cohort, like I think that's such a good point because I mean, me and you, Kasey, like we're in one of the biggest learning teams, like cohorts of our program. And there's a bunch of us, but like I think it's true. It's like it really does start with us, and like building those relationships that like will last for, hopefully a long time and just like seeing each other grow one throughout the program and like two like outside of it, I think is like that's such a good piece to like take away. And then when it comes to networking, I mean, I am a natural like introvert, so it's not easy for me to like always go out of my way like to meet people and stuff like that. But one thing that has stuck out like and that one of our professors talked about was really just like I think being genuinely yourself. So like for me, even though I am introverted, like I've made a few connections with like the people that I most have felt connected to, So it's like, yeah, I try to push myself out of my comfort zone to talk to other people and like just learn different things. But I also think that those natural relationships that like you come across will also be important like as you go on. So it's like, yeah, you go out of your way, have these different conversations, but I think the relationships that will matter most, at least to me, will be the ones that I know that like just came genuinely and that again, like you are continuing, like to cultivate them and just like nourish them as you go on because it's like you never know when they can help you and then when one day hopefully like I can help them, So I think that's like the biggest piece for me when it comes to networking. And then one thing that I think is like so big is that when we did our informational interviews in like one of our first classes of the program, I interviewed a guy from UFC and he was at the time in a coordinator position. And this is literally one of our first classes and he is now a director at UFC in sponsorships. And you can ask me if I followed up with him ever or like, built like kept that relationship. The answer is no. Do I regret it? 100%. Cause like that is honestly like one of the biggest lessons is like had I kept that relationship, like Kasey knows, Chris and Keashawn don't know, but like my dream is to work with UFC. So it's like, had I kept that relationship and just like kept talking to him, who knows, like what could have happened. But so kind of like how Chris touched on, like your mentors, like they teach you things, like learn from them. Like I hope someone hearing this learns that like if there's someone you do an informational interview with, like keep talking to them, because yeah, you never know, and it could be, a door that opens for you. And again, like being genuine about the relationship, but just in a nutshell, yeah, definitely network.
Yeah, I'm a Casey. I did an informational interview with somebody and I have not reached back. So thank you for that, because now I'm sure about to reach back.
Even if it's a like, how are you doing, or how are things going, like, and I did reach back out to him a couple times, and he like he was so busy, and then he moved on, and I was like, hey, it might have been a little too late. But yeah, especially if it's like a field or like, a company or something you're interested in, like that's huge. Like he's now a director, like it could have, who knows. So yeah, I think that's one of like my biggest lessons I've learned so far.
We'll still get you into UFC, Jenn, somehow.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
One day.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think everything people said. First on the mentor piece, like I just love asking this question. I know not even having to ask these three, but none of us got to where we're at on our own. Whether it was coaches, whether it was parents, whether it was pastors, whether it was teachers, whether it was whatever, like we're all where we're at today because someone else invested in us, whether on a personal level or a professional level or both levels. I think another thing is we have different mentors in different seasons of our lives. I've gained a few mentors just since I started this program, and I've been in this program 13 months and have built relationships with individuals that have really helped me in this program and helped me in the job search and helped me on those days when I was ready to quit the program and say forget it and move on to something else. And then I have those mentors that have been with me my entire life. And so I think you're always gaining mentors and you're always having different people in and out of your life. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, and everyone's kind of hit on it, is continuing to maintain those relationships. I talked about it in a previous episode as well. Don't be in a one-sided relationship. Don't be in a relationship where all you're doing is asking for things. I had a guest in season 1 that talked about if you're going into a relationship with someone, bring something to the table yourself. It's not just about Kasey the taker or Jenn the taker or Keashawn and Chris the taker. Like, bring something yourself that you can provide that individual as well in the relationship. It doesn't have to be equal. It doesn't have to be the same level, but like, don't be that person in a relationship that's always taking, that's always asking for, good words on a job or whatever. Like, bring something to the table as well. I think that's super important in networking. It's to not always be a taker, but give as well. And then I think the other thing, and I'm kind of rambling, so I'll let someone else speak in a second, but just, I think it's cool that like we've had people that have invested in us and now we all have a desire to invest in other people. Like we're just trying to pay it forward. We're just trying to pass the baton, because we've had those people and we now want to be those people to the next group, the next generation, the next individual, whatever that looks like. And I think it's just so cool to like keep handing the baton off, and hope that we can be that mentor for the next person and they can be a mentor for the next person. And it just continues down the line. So I'll let someone else share now.
I mean, I think that's huge. Like, I know myself, I see myself like in a leadership type of role. And like, I know the leaders that like for me that have stuck out have been those that like they're doing their job, but like they're also like trying to make you better. And so it's like that's always the goal. It's like when one day I do become like I'm in those like higher level positions, it's like if I'm not showing you how to do like the job better than me, like I think I'm not doing a good job at being a leader. So I think like when it comes to like mentors, like I think that's what they're there for. Harry says like they're passing the baton on to us and like in hopes that one day like we can do the same for someone else and like make them better. Like, you know, if that's the goal, like at least that's always the goal in my eyes, is like for one day that I can be a mentor to someone else and make them better professionally, like personally, like in all aspects.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
and
sure. Oh,
yeah, and no, sorry, Chris. But yeah, just really quick, like just to add to what Jen and even what Kasey was saying, like you definitely want to prove that like you can add value, and really like because you're showing that you're dependable, and that's not even just with your mentor, but even like with your employer. Like you want to prove that you can bring something to the table, you can add value, and always like produce good work. They definitely you definitely want to be that person that's always producing good work. And I think that's like one of the biggest ways to like move up the ladder. And that's a lot of what I've heard from a lot of like speakers and mentors that are working for some of like the biggest teams in the country right now. That's a lot of what they said, to produce good work, and like that's and you will get recognized. Even like there at USC, Kasey and Chris, they could say the same thing. Like our internship group have gotten a lot of compliments for for like our work, and just for being so diligent while doing it. We all have like good attitudes, and good quality service. And and I'm glad like that people are seeing that, because it is long hours, but it's fun, and we all enjoy it like as a group. And that's definitely something that I will highlight.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I think the only thing I wanted to add was just that, man, like, kind of going to Jen's point was like great leaders empower people under them to lead as well, right? To help build them up and bring them into leadership roles, and show them how to do the job better. And I think that's a great quality. And even people that's at entry level position, I feel like can add, to Keashawn's point, can add value and can become leaders. But a lot of time it's the person that's over them that has to help empower them and place them into places where it brings out their strengths. So
Yeah, final tangible question, just to kind of bring it home on this episode. I actually asked this question this season to guests on the podcast. But what advice would you give to someone maybe new to the sport management field when it comes to starting out and building their professional network in the sport management space? If you had to give them advice as they're starting to build their tools and build their team of personal advisors and network, what advice would you give to them starting out?
Yeah. For me, I would say, because I just finished my undergrad, within a year ago. And, I wanted to be serious, about what I wanted to do. Um, so biggest thing, definitely, sorry, was someone else mind going, like kind of that out?
yeah, now I got you. Yeah, I just think the ways to build their network. Right? I just go back to LinkedIn. That's how I built a lot of things, like a lot of relationships with people, are just LinkedIn and being able to kind of promote myself. Like I looked at LinkedIn as like a marketing aspect of like, because you got your resume on there, you got your summary, stuff that you do, and it's just so many people that you can reach out to in different industries. Um, so yeah, just leveraging in things that we are in the age of technology. Just leveraging so much stuff, and then you never know. Just talking to people in the grocery store, if I know. Like Jen said, sometimes people are, you're introverted, so that's not the best way for everybody. But no, yeah, because it's not, like, but just use what works for you, right? If find your strengths and how you like connect with people, because there's always somebody out there that's like you. Um, I've met people within my college that's like me. I met people that's opposite of me, right? But just being able to just figure out where my strengths are, and you know, find a common factor between people, and be able to relate to them. And I think this industry is great because sports kind of is a unifier from people from all, you know, socioeconomic backgrounds. Like sport is the one of the greatest unifiers. And yeah, like, you know, like Kasey the Chargers fan, I'm a Ravens fan, but it's football though. So
I think, I mean, like, just taking every opportunity, you know, Kasey, like, for us at Cal State Long Beach, like, we get a lot of opportunities thrown our way. So, like, not being afraid to say yes to, like, any opportunity is going to be huge. And then once you're in them, is like, really, you know, seeing who was in charge of like putting the event together, or like, you know, who reached out to you, who did you have to interview with. So like really starting like with every opportunity, and like all those people that came across, like that you came across with to get there, I think is a good place like to start your network. And then from there, again, it's going to be just like who you will genuinely connect with, you know, like staying professional when you are in those opportunities, because you never know who you're talking to, or like, you know, who it is that is going to come like cross your path. So it's like keeping that professionalism with once you're in those opportunities, so that you can like just genuinely connect with those people, and then just keeping them like in your back pocket, but again, like not just taking advantage of them, and just like really building those genuine relationships, I think is going to be like the most important thing.
Yeah. And to what Jen was saying, you know, it's a lot of taking those opportunities, like for those networking events. You know, say at USF, we've gotten a lot of, you know, networking events that all over LA and Orange County, where we've met, you know, all kinds of professionals that, you know, say for example, we were at the Bay Club. You know, I wasn't aware that there was a lot of opportunities in that, you know, working in, you know, like for a gym so much, or, you know, like a country club that provides a lot of gym services. You know, so like that was interesting, but, you know, again, it was because, you know, I just took the opportunity and, you know, just kind of like went for it, you know. And Chris could add to that too, because he was there as well, you know. So like it's kind of good, you know, again, to like have others in your cohort that's like that as well, you know. Again, that's some of your biggest network that'll be around you. um you know, also be yourself, like what Chris said, you know, there is someone out there that will be able to relate to you, you know. So just be yourself when networking, and, you know, to push yourself to make that first step, you know, that like that's how really you're gonna grow your network and meet a lot of individuals, you know. So a lot of it you will have to make the first step, because you're still trying to make way. But just be yourself, be polite. These are real people, you know, and a lot of the times, you know, you could probably be the highlight of their day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Keashawn. Just about putting yourself out there, jumping in. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, as Jenn opened with. Jenn's not. Jenn's more of an introvert, but just, you know, having a friendship with Jenn, she recently has taken herself outside of the box, gone to a few networking events recently, and they've paid off. And I think we can all just take lesson from that. That sometimes even when things are uncomfortable, we jump in, because, you know, we know the value, and we have a place we're trying to go, and we have a goal we're trying to achieve. And is it uncomfortable? Sure. Was Jenn uncomfortable at these events? Probably. At the end of the day, did she make some good contacts? I would assume so as well. So sometimes we got to get out of the box. But with that being said, that concludes another episode of Thoughts on a Thursday. Keashawn, Chris, and Jenn, thank you so much for being a part of another episode, and we'll see you in the next episode. See ya.
Bye.
Why does it do that?
Why is it only on yours?